Hi, everybody. Before we do anything, I'm going to get into trouble tonight, so just Nahid, live with it. First of all, if you can stand, could you just very quickly stand? Quickly, stand. Thank you. Now sit down. That's what I love about Sudan. The first chance you get to have a conversation with your family and friends, you take it. Stand, sit down. What we know as educators is that when we sit down for a long time, blood pools. It pools in two places, in your feet and in your seat. And that's not good for your brain. So you just stood up, you moved a little blood around. So today, what am I going to talk about? Well, first of all, has anybody got one of these things? Anybody heard of them? Mobile phones? They're amazing. You can buy them everywhere. They're really, really good. Anyway, I've already warned Nahid, and she can tell me off later. If you've got one, please feel free to use it. If you want to take photos, tweet, post on Facebook, argue with me, disagree with me, do it. That's what it's for. Okay. The generation that will save the world. That was my first idea for a talk. But we thought about a clicker that doesn't work. Hey, or how I learned to stop outsourcing responsibility for my own education to institutions that really haven't got a clue about the world in which I will be living and in which I need to succeed. Which wasn't quite as snappy. So we thought that one might work better. And I'm talking in particular here to folks who are under the age of 28. Is anybody here under 28? That's rather a lot of you. Okay. So, personally speaking, Nahid said a few very kind things about me. I was born and raised in a place called Bolton. Anybody heard of Bolton Wanderers? Does anybody support Arsenal? That's a shame. Bolton is a long way away. Basically, if you go back up Wad Medany Road and just keep going for a bit, you might get there. Now, my parents, they're what's known as children of the silent generation. These were children born between the two world wars. And that's where I grew up. As you can see, very similar to Sudan. It's what we call a Bolton Haboob. It's not actually weather. It's a mix of kind of steam and fog and pollution and I don't know what. Before the Industrial Revolution, I would have been 6'4". And that's my dad's bus. That's my dad's bus. My dad was a bus driver. Thank you. You've obviously been on his bus. He drove a bus for 30 years. And that actually is it. And if you see on the front, it says a place called Breitmit. Breitmit was where I was born and raised and grew up for quite a period of my life. Quite a rough area. And that's a place called Ilex Mill. It's a cotton mill. And that's where my mum worked. 6 of my aunties, they all worked there. My grandmother worked there. And they worked with cotton. And they made cotton fibers. Then 1965, fantastic year. Doesn't get enough treatment in the history books. That was the year I was born. We got some fellow 65ers in. Yep, you're 27 like me. Excellent. The baby boomers came next. And I just sneaked out of the baby boomers into what's known as Generation X. So anybody who is kind of falls into that period of time when you were born, you're a Generation Xer. And as Generation X, we share a whole bunch of characteristics. We value making a contribution. And if we'd had this conversation It's not actually a conversation. I'm not asking for your opinions, am I? But if it were a conversation, we'd be saying, there's a whole bunch of research that's been done over the last 20 years about generations and different generations. And Generation X are the ones like me who at the moment are in quite a lot of authority positions. We like autonomy. We're adaptable. We're quite independent as a generation, except when it comes to fashion. Generation X teachers that taught me really got dressed when it was dark. It's quite good. Sorry, Mr. Livesey, if you're still alive, I apologize. But the students were even worse. Look at those. I'm in there somewhere. No, don't go and have a look. This guy's going to have a look. No, don't have a look. I'm in there. But one of the things I want you to notice about is, notice how free-form the photograph is. Same haircuts, same clothing. Well, women different to men, obviously. We weren't that liberal. Straight lines. Okay, I'm going to... the trouble with this is I've actually shot about 4 guys every time I keep pointing over here. We're still clicking here? Or not? Hey, whoa, Steve, you can wait. There we go. Technology when I was a kid, fantastic. We had these things called Space Invader games. Oh, there you go, Space Invader games. And then the computer. I remember being at school when they brought out the computer for everybody to look at. Except it wasn't everybody. It was just like the weird spotty kids with the kind of facial conditions that were taken with usually an extremely strange-looking teacher into a room. I mean, these days you get locked up for that. But then those days, they went into this room and they looked at this green screen. And they sat there for hours. And then eventually this little green or light green thing would go from one side to the other and go, beep, beep. These guys were amazing. They'd come out, that was it. Their life's work was done. I wasn't in that group. I was still struggling to pass O-level maths. And I was still struggling, as another one gone, I'm still struggling to get this clicker working. There we go. No, still not going. Hey, then came along Steve. Steve, sadly missed by many. And this guy, Bill Gates. Together they revolutionized the world in which we live. Remember that phone thing you're not allowed to use? And then this guy here, can you see him? Tim Berners-Lee invented this little thing called the World Wide Web. It's very useful. If you go out and buy a phone, if you ask the nice man in the shop, he'll help you connect to it. It's really good. And he sells clickers. This is what I did at school. Listen, learn, and repeat. While Bill Gates and those guys are dreaming up amazing things to do with machines, and while Tim Berners-Lee has connected the entire world, I'm sitting in a classroom learning to listen, learn, and repeat to my teachers. And I was good at it. That's what we all did. That's what Generation X did. We listened, we learned, and we repeated. On and on and on. We were really good at it. Does this remind anybody about any recent educational experiences you might have had? Hey, there we go. A fad have gone all quiet. One size fits all education. That was Generation X. That was up through the 80s and the 90s. Pass this exam, you will be successful in life. Whole generations of unemployed people are thinking, did I miss it? What did I miss there? Was something happen? I passed my exams, I don't have a job. How am I successful in life? Well, that was school, or is it? I mean, that might be school now. That might be college now for you guys. In fact, for many of you, I think it is. There you go. Individuality. Everybody says yes at the same time. So if that was then, what is now? Specifically in Sudan. Welcome to Generation Y. That's you lot. You are Generation Y. As Generation Y, like Generation X, you have a whole bunch of characteristics, but yours are different. Yours are very different. You're the millennials. You've got a very strong self-image. Very strong self-image. You know who you are. You know what you like. You know what you don't like. And you fear living poorly. And I don't mean money. Money's nice, don't get me wrong. But you fear living a poor quality of life, a poor emotional life, a poor family life, a poor life without values. And this is a big one. For you, respect has got to be earned. You're very polite. I mean, that's one of the things in Sudan, isn't it? We're all very polite. Inside, we're kind of screaming, but we're all very polite. But for you, respect must be earned. That doesn't matter if you're 22 or 82. You're a generation without respect, basically. You respect what people do. And if you can do it, you expect respect. And that's fair enough, I think. You adapt rapidly. And you crave change and challenge. You create. That's the biggest thing. And that's where Mr. Jobs and Mr. Gates and Mr. Berners-Lee helped us amazingly. We create. Everybody here, we create. But Generation Y is the most creative generation that the world has ever seen. Because you're the most connected, you have the most democratic access to information, knowledge, and tools than there's ever been before. You're global in your perspective. When you sit down to Facebook or you tweet out there are no geopolitical boundaries anymore. That's why they invented VPNs. So how do we meet your educational needs? That's my job. I'm supposed to be able to answer all these questions. That's what I do here with this school. Well, in Sudan, in 2004, I came to Sudan. And I think all the other candidates pulled out, leaving me. So I was hired to open this school. So they said, here it is. Thanks a lot. And we opened in 2005, September 2005. So I came for 3 years, 10 years ago. Don't know what happened there. Here I am still. Oh, we need a chicken. Sorry, I promised. My son's in the audience somewhere. I promised him I'd get a chicken into the presentation. It is relevant. Don't panic. And if your parents have kicked kids, no, there isn't a lunatic running the school. It's honestly relevant. We opened this school. What's it for? It's very simple. We have a long mission statement, like most organizations, but fundamentally, deep in our core, in this school, and I hope in every single school in this country, and in every college, in every university, there is an unwritten mission statement that is the same. And that is this. Today, tomorrow, and for as long as we're on this planet, we will build a better Sudan. But you're all hearing my words and looking at, we need a chicken. Thinking, what's this guy on? There you go, you can have one. There's a chicken. I have some chickens in my garden. I traveled far today. I live about 200 meters that way. And I have chickens in the garden. I've always had chickens. My son's grown up with chickens. We like chickens. They're very non-threatening. Attack chickens, some of them. You know, we live in difficult times. But have you ever tried picking up two and throwing them? It's not an Olympic sport, but perhaps should be. But it's a fantastic test of an educational theory. If you pick up a couple of chickens, and please don't try this at home, but if you pick up two chickens and try and throw them in a straight line, it's not going to happen. Because chickens are very independent creatures. One's going to go left, one's going to go right, one's going to say, whoa, and put up its wings. The other's going to think, I can fly, and it can't fly. And it's really sad to watch. But they do different things. No, you haven't got it yet, have you? You haven't got it yet. That's what we do in classrooms. That's what we do in classrooms. We do that in university lecture halls. We do it in classrooms. We line people up. We stick them in a room. And we say to them, you're a bunch of chickens. Educationally, I'm going to throw you in the same line because you're all going to learn the same thing, the same day, at the same rate, and you'll all sit the same exams. You're not chickens. There you go. We're not chickens. That's your takeaway. We're not chickens. Now you've got it. But we've got a problem. We got a problem. Because schools aren't changing. We're trying. Teachers are trying. Trust me. Teachers are phenomenally hardworking, and they're trying their best. But the structures aren't changing fast enough. Schools aren't changing fast enough. How do you change a school in Bajarawir when the teacher's not been paid for 2 months? Yeah? It's just not going to happen. How do you change an educational system when there has been such pitiful investment in it for over a decade? When the university system is crippled by a lack of funding, a lack of investment in its personnel? When its professors and its teachers and the people who invested their entire history in Sudan are now in Saudi, or they're in Canada, or they're in Australia because they can't earn a living here anymore? That is not how you transform an educational system. Do you recognize these scenes? Everybody's facing the same way. Everybody's doing the same thing. There's a very hard-working person in the top 2 photographs who is trying to teach that class. Trouble is, in the bottom one, I think he looks like he's running out. But everybody, look at that bottom one carefully. Look at that bottom one carefully. They've got their heads down, they're working, they're learning, they're trying to make the best of the system. But as long as the teacher, i.e. the school and the institution, is going the other way, their needs are not going to be met. Because the needs of Generation Y are different. They are fundamentally different. And the educational systems we have are broken because they have not recognized those differences. And I've thought about this for quite a while, and so has the chicken. And I think there are 3 things that you can do to change it. Actually, you as an individual, personal agency, you can actually do something about this. Because if the schools and the colleges won't change, then you have to. Firstly, take responsibility. Take responsibility for your own learning. You have access to the sum total of the world's knowledge through your phone. You do not need a teacher as a gatekeeper anymore to your learning. They need to coach you. They need to show you how to learn. But you can learn independently. You can take MOOCs. You can go online. You can educate yourselves from the best professors in the world has to offer. But take responsibility for your own learning. Whoops. Stop passing exams. There's a whole bunch of parents in the audience going, oh, where's our pills? Examinations are not a test of your intelligence. They're a ranking system. They're a way of that chicken getting into a straight line. But they do not define you. Exams do not define you. And as long as our educational systems are driven by examination factories and driven by university admissions processes which only look at academics, then Houston, we will continue to have a problem. And here's the 3rd thing you've got to do. Make stuff. It's a good idea to make things. Make ideas, make solutions, make products. Make arguments, make discussions, make debates, but make something. Do not be passive. Do not just listen and repeat. Make something new. So innovate. Innovation is fundamentally important in this country. Learn authentically. Get out of your classrooms. Get into the field. Spend time with people who are doing things in the real world. But fundamentally, create something. One of the things I did before I came out was I tweeted a challenge to everybody to say, look, one thing tonight, please pay it forward. Take one idea from today and pass it on to somebody outside. If you do that, you've created more learning in someone. And if everybody here did that, that's 1,100 lessons that go from this TEDx. 1,100 lessons. 1,100 people out there will learn something new if each person here does one thing. The thing is, going back to my mother in the factory, my dad on his bus, the chicken in the straight lines, my school, the teachers with the bad dress sense, the serried ranks, the classrooms, everybody doing the same thing at the same time is a 20th century model. And thinkers like Ken Robinson have said this far more eloquently than me. But Sudan doesn't need that anymore. It doesn't need 20th century followers. It really doesn't. It needs 21st century leaders. So if you like what I say, if you think that makes sense, I've got one thing left to say, and that's this. Be one. Be a 21st century leader and make a change. Thank you very much.